Tiny Furies by E.C. Miller. It all started with a bento box. Sort of. Bree's mother, the one still bragging about the farmhouse sink she'd installed in the kitchen of her mid-century craftsman cottage, even though most of us had already stepped by at some point to compliment it, saw some account on Pinterest. And the next thing we knew, the entire first grade came tumbling home one afternoon, demanding sunflower butter on sprouted wheat bread, cut into hearts and stars. They wanted a rainbow of bell peppers in one compartment and something called tempeh in another. Their eyes beseeched us as they spoke reverently of a spoonful of plant-based yogurt dusted with Ceylon cinnamon for dessert. And we looked down at them, not directly into their imploring eyes, but at their disheveled end-of-day hairline instead. Hair we would later press our noses into as we bid them off to sleep, and tried to keep our chests from imploding. Never mind that for years, every last one of them had refused to eat anything that wasn't laden with high fructose corn syrup, monosodium glutamate, and red dye 40. That every night we failed to hide our anger as we shoved the evening's dinner, broccoli, carrots, a concession of reptile-shaped chicken nuggets, down the garbage disposal. Tried not to consider what else we might have done with all that time and grocery money, fighting the urge to slide our forearms into the disposal as well before flipping the switch to hide, if only to have somewhere to direct our tiny furies. "But Bree," they pleaded. "Bree's mama." Relentless. We were already removing the crust from jelly sandwiches, cut into exact triangles. We kept track of everyone's allergies to eggs and dairy and berries and bees. We vaulted into a death match every year on the second Tuesday of February, when summertime care registration opened and the website crashed every damn time, forcing us to dig through our phones to search for the number, to be put on hold, to be put on a wait list for a spot that would never open, and our paychecks would barely manage to cover even if it did. We were answering the emails from Mrs. Robbins, the school guidance counselor, who was mandated to reach out whenever Trevor said the word "gun" in the cafeteria, or Alexandra revealed her bum in the girls' bathroom. We were furiously scrubbing the grass stains out of polo shirts while thinking of age-appropriate ways to explain consent. We were tying and untying and retying sneakers shoved into opposite feet, while assessing age-appropriate ways to explain bodily autonomy. We were staining our fingertips red, picking the too squishy strawberries out of the fruit salad, except for those whose kids were allergic to strawberries, while pondering age-appropriate ways to explain the upcoming active shooter drill. We were wondering if planetary environmental collapse would hold off long enough for us to see the fruits of our labors. We wondered if we wanted it to. As we stared into the blue light abyss of our palms each night, munching the stale crusts of jelly sandwiches, we deliberated whether we were helicopters, bulldozers, snowplows or tigers. We worried every single problem could be distilled down to the fact that we hadn't been marsupials all those years earlier. We thought we might have been free range, if not for that one neighbor who would have definitely called the cops. We scrolled past pastel squares of text where phrases like invisible labor and institutional patriarchy let us all know the feelings we had were the result of some unseen ubiquity. It was our responsibility to dismantle, even though we also had 3 lunches, 6 snacks, 12 pickups and drop-offs, and 25 Spirit Week outfits to coordinate in the morning. Despite our efforts, we paused momentarily on an ad for a bento box, ensuring every ad we'd see for the next year and a half would be for a bento box. Oh, we try not to think about the depositions we used to write, campaigns we used to organize, students we used to teach, art we used to make, or books we used to read. Tried not to tally the hours TikTok gurus insisted we could stretch if only we exchanged our personal data for a homemade video series explaining the quantum physics of manifesting. We swore we didn't know that was a pyramid scheme, Barbara. Gosh. When we finally closed our eyes, it was not while thinking about the sleep we used to get or the sex we used to have. We definitely didn't wonder about that one night with Cheryl from second year calculus and whether or not our lives might have been different or easier if we didn't read the studies on the division of household labor suggesting they wouldn't be. We definitely woke up to an email informing us that the 3-pack of bento boxes would arrive on Tuesday. Sure, maybe it shouldn't have bothered us so much. Bree's mother and her Japanese-inspired social media mom-influenced lunches, maybe we were just projecting. Maybe we really should have counted our blessings, like Mary's tea towels advised. There was just something about each day being the same as before, as before, as before. Everything so urgent and banal at once. We started to go a little mad from it all. We were what Hippocrates referred to as hysterical. The type they might have burned along the River Seine. Victorian physicians would have prescribed us pelvic massages. And we would have consented. It had been 2 presidential administrations since we last gotten a full night's rest. So, in a way, it started with Bree's mother and the bento box. But depending on how you looked at it, maybe the bento box was the last straw too. All we planned on doing was messing with that damn farmhouse sink. A little like vandalism. Tanya's mother said her husband kept a lockpick set in the garage. We knew better than to ask questions. And Bryn's mother suggested a dash of white vinegar and bleach left to sit overnight might strip that sink of its shine and old lady bento box of her good ideas. So, when Bree's mother just happened to mention that the entire family would be taking a trip to Pigeon Forge over the long weekend, it seemed like maybe the universe was sending us a sign. I guess we got a little frenzied. The vinegar and bleach fumes had an unhinging effect. Plus, we were giddy at being out together after dark on a weeknight, delirious that if only for a few minutes, for the first time in years, we had more to anticipate than someone's midnight incontinence. What is it called when a cult commits ritual suicide? crowd psychology. We didn't even know Daniel's mother still smoked pot until we heard the lighter crackle. "A doobie for nerves?" she offered before erupting into silent giggles. How could we have possibly anticipated that when we tossed the last couple of centimeters of that joint into the sink, it would land in the cafe curtains instead? We didn't know natural fibers colored with plant dye were basically kindling strung across a tension rod. Truth be told, aubergine didn't complement Bree's mother's cabinet finishes anyway. None of us had ever seen such a tiny flame climb a wall so fast, like lightning striking between our feet. If anyone had asked us later, which they didn't, we would have said, of course, we hadn't meant to burn that woman's house down. And we certainly did not intend for Bree's pet hamsters, Tofu and Butternut Squash the Third, to roast alive inside. Tearing silently through our neighbors' unlit backyards, sirens screaming in the distance, we'd pressed the backs of our hands against our mouths, inhaled our cackles, felt our feet treading just above the ground, like we were having the time of our lives.